Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another installment of West Morris Central's College Admissions Interview Series. I am Shanna Donnelly, one of the counselors here at West Morris Central, and joining us today is Lila from Drexel. Welcome, Lila.
Thank
Can you
you.
just start by telling us a little bit about you and the school you represent?
Yeah, sure. So I am an assistant director of admissions at Drexel. We are a private university located in University City in Philadelphia. We offer 4-year and 5-year undergraduates for students. And we're centered around experiential learning. So it takes a bunch of different forms, but it basically just means that you can get hands-on learning in your field before you graduate.
That's so awesome. That's like key, I think, to most of our students is looking for some type of program or some type of school that has that edge and being able to get out there and kind of work in your field and get more exposure to your field prior to graduation is so huge. So how about your favorite aspect? Like, what is your favorite thing about Drexel?
I'd say there's two things. I love our neighborhood. So we're in University City, it's home to Drexel and 2 other college campuses. So even though you are like within the city, it's just a very unique neighborhood because you have that like collegiate area surrounding, but then you can also get away from campus and be like in downtown Philadelphia in 10 minutes. So I love our location. And then I would just say students being able to go on co-op is the other one. So co-op are the 6-month work experiences that students do. They choose between doing 1 and 3. And like seeing students when they come back from co-op and before they go out, like they just seem so much more prepared for whatever it's going to be. And I think that getting to see them participate in that has been a really fun aspect of working here.
Very nice. Very cool. I think we'll maybe get a little more into the co-op program later. And we're recording this now. So for everybody watching, this is late October. So I hope what I'm about to say ages well. But it's got to be an exciting time to be a sports fan in Philly.
Yes.
Tell us, like, I'm sure that bleeds into your campus culture. Like, what is the culture like at Drexel? Like, do you find that a lot of students are taking advantage of Philly, or do they tend to stay more on the campus? What's that like?
Yeah, I think it's a really nice mix. So Drexel does have an actual campus because there are a bunch of blocks that are all touching that are Drexel's. So you can definitely tell when you're on Drexel's campus, you know, there's like a clear area where you're going to be surrounded by Drexel students. But like we couldn't be in a better location to access like literally everything in the city. There's subways and buses and the major train station, and Philly is so walkable. So I think it's a really nice mix where if you want to stay on campus, you have that. But if you want to get away from it and go to a Phillies game or go to a restaurant in another neighborhood, then you're able to do so really easily. So it's a mix. Like there's students who lean a little bit more on campus and students who lean a little bit more on the city. And I would say most students should find a balance between the two.
Very cool. What's big on Drexel's campus? Like, what are students getting involved in? Is Greek life a thing? Is sports a big thing? Like, what are people doing for fun?
Yeah, so we really have basically everything that you can think of. Basketball is probably the biggest sport here for men's and women's, but we do have a bunch of other D1 teams. There's like about 13 for men and 13 for women. But there is Greek life. It's about 10% of campus. So it's a nice mix where it's there if you want it, but you don't have to if you don't want to. It's not a requirement for social life. But there's over 300 clubs and organizations. So there's performing arts and cultural and identity-based organizations. But then there's also like a chocolate eating club, and we have a Jedi club where they like have lightsaber battles and reenact scenes from the Star Wars movies. So I think that it's basically everything you can think of. A ton of different ways to get involved. Kind of depends like what students are interested in.
I'm about to start a chocolate eating club here
Right.
because that sounds like a phenomenal idea. So I love that. How about some of the fun traditions at Drexel? Is there anything like interesting or crazy you guys do that's just something unique to Drexel?
I think something kind of unique about Drexel is our mascot. So we are the dragons, which is a little bit unique. And there's a huge statue of the dragon who's named Mario, who's named after an alumni who went to like every Drexel basketball game for like 60 plus years. So it's named after him, which is really fun. But there's a huge dragon statue right on campus. And I think getting a picture probably on your first visit to campus, and then when you graduate, it's like a huge rite of passage for students, and very unique for photos when students are doing that.
And that's so cute, Mario. That's
yeah.
cool. I love that. Okay, tell me a little bit more about the academics. So what are some of the top majors at your school? So if I have a student coming into my office and they're like, I want to major in blank, I should say you need to check out Drexel.
So we were founded as a mechanical engineering school. That was over 100 years ago, but obviously we've grown from specifically that major. So all of our engineering programs are very strong, but then I would also say there's like areas of strength across the entire school because we have over 80 undergraduate majors now. So there's engineering and computing and informatics, but then we also have like a really strong music industry program. All of our media arts and design programs are like really small and really strong. All of our nursing and health professions, our pre-med majors, the business school, like there's really a lot of areas of strength. Just kind of depends, again, what students are interested in, but I would say you kind of can't go wrong with any of those departments.
Nice. Now, what if I have a student who is interested in engineering, but hasn't had enough exposure to really know what specific type of engineering? Is there some sort of pathway for that?
Yeah, so if students know exactly what they want to study, you can apply to and be directly admitted into a program. But for students who want to take a little bit more time before declaring, most of our colleges, so all of the majors are housed in different colleges or schools, which are just like departments at Drexel. Most of them offer an undeclared option. So there's undeclared engineering.
That's awesome.
And in that, you're admitted to the College of Engineering, but you don't have to declare your major until the end of your freshman year. And then for students who still just want to take time before declaring, but the school doesn't offer an undeclared option, we have something called first year exploratory studies, where you pick a STEM or a humanities track and you can try out a couple majors during your freshman year.
That's awesome. And what does that look like? Is there an advisor that kind of like works with the students to pick what would be best for freshman year or what?
Yeah, so you get like an additional academic advisor, and they'll meet with the student and basically figure out like what are some areas of interest and like curate a schedule where you're still getting those gen ed so you're not going to fall behind, but also so that you can try out a couple different departments and make a decision.
That's so nice, especially, you know, for these cohorts of students who are coming out of high school, having been home for part of their high school career and learning remotely. I feel like we lost a lot of that hands-on time. So having an option where you really can figure it out is just so beneficial to so many people. So that's great. Now, I know you're not financial aid. That's a different office, but answer this as best as you can, because this is a huge question we get asked all the time. So people freak out when they see a sticker price for a school, which is fine. Can you talk a little bit maybe about like sticker price versus what families and students are actually paying? Like, what is the tuition and financial aid look like at Drexel?
Yeah, so Drexel's sticker price is high. We are a private university on the quarter system and an urban school, which are three things that make it more expensive. So it's tuition plus fees plus room and board is kind of the cost of 1 year. And it's like just over, I think, $70,000 as the sticker price, but there's less than 1% of students that are paying that full amount. So students are automatically considered for merit scholarships at Drexel. You don't have to do anything to be considered for them. Last year, 99% of students received one. So if you're offered admission, you are basically guaranteed to get one, and they obviously vary in amount, but you can pretty much be assured that you're going to get one. And then we do FAFSA, which is government financial aid, and CSS Profile, which is institution-based financial aid. So only certain schools offer it, but they're two completely different sources. So if students fill out both, they'll be getting more than if they just filled out one or the other. So the average financial aid package that students receive is like $34,000. So it's basically half, but it's an average. So some get less, some get more. We are need sensitive, so we try to work with families to make sure it'll be affordable. And then there are additional scholarships that students can apply to as well. So there's like full need-based scholarships. There's tuition exchange if a parent's working at a university that we're partnered with.
Mhm.
And they're all available on like your Drexel portal after you submit your application.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
That's good. So what goes into merit consideration? Do you have to submit test scores for that, or is it just GPA based?
No, so it's based off a lot of different factors. So we do holistic review.
Nice.
So there's an academic portion, but you can also get merit scholarships for like your activities or extraordinary achievement or anything like that. GPA, transcript, but also like rigor of courses, all factors into it.
Awesome. So I guess speaking of testing, are you guys still test optional? Are you planning to remain that way? Talk to me a little bit about that.
So we are, sorry, I'm getting a call.
No worries.
I'm just gonna let it go. We are fully test optional for this year. So for seniors that are applying, should I just wait for this? I know, I'm just gonna actually tell them to call back really quick.
Go for it.
It's gone. So
Perfect.
I think he hung up. So for seniors that are applying, we are fully test optional, except for our BSMD program, which is the combined undergrad and medical school early assurance.
Okay.
That's our only program that requires test scores. Other than that, you do not have to submit your test scores to be considered for admission or for financial aid. So I say, like, if you're proud of your scores, submit them, but otherwise there's no need to, because it can help or hurt your application by submitting them.
Okay.
For juniors or sophomores or anyone else, we haven't currently extended it past this year, but I would expect an announcement one way or another probably in the spring.
Nice. Okay. So if students aren't submitting test scores, does that just mean everything else becomes more important? Or in like lieu of that, are you looking for something specific on a transcript? Or is it just like it is what it is if you're not?
Yeah, it really is that, like, we are now considering SATs as an addition to everything else that's provided. So it's not that you're missing something by not submitting them, it's that you're taking advantage of the opportunity to submit them.
Great. Okay. That's a good way to look at it. I like that very much. Good. Okay. So we are an IB school. So we have an IB diploma program and an IB career program, which is just really an opportunity for students to take courses in a pathway that's interesting to them at the IB level. So we have a STEM pathway, business, so on and so forth. And diploma is, our traditional IB diploma. If you're an admissions counselor looking at a student's transcript and you're seeing IB, does that affect a student's admission candidacy?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned that there's like a lot of different components that we kind of look at for the academic portion, and rigor is certainly one of them. So students that are IB diploma candidates would be considered like most demanding for curriculum strength. But even taking some IB courses would factor into that as well, because like APs and IBs would be considered, the highest level offered at any given school. So that would definitely factor into admission, just in terms of like the rigor of the course loads that they're taking.
Great. So let's say a student chooses not to pursue anything IB related here. Does that reflect poorly on them because we offer it, or not necessarily?
It really depends on the student. If they're still taking like honors or AP courses, then that would still be considered like a rigorous course load. So it just kind of depends. It wouldn't necessarily factor in poorly, but we are able to see when higher level courses are being offered and the student isn't taking them. But I think part of being a successful student too is like doing what you're capable of doing. So if taking those IB courses would impact your GPA, then I would say don't take them.
Right. Yes, we talk a lot about balance and playing
exactly
strengths, right? And that's all, piece of the puzzle, but perfect. Yeah. That's a great answer. Let's see. How about the actual application itself? How important is the essay to you?
It is important. We definitely, like I have said, look at all parts. So like none of our programs have GPA minimums, for example, because we don't want to like reduce students to just that one number. So
Mhm.
I really think of all of the components of the application as like equally important because they're all kind of different factors within what decision we're making. So the academic portion of it is probably, skewed a little bit more important, but we look at absolutely everything. So we look at activities, the essay, there's like additional space for additional information and community disruption, and we look at anything that's provided on there, letters of recommendation. So all of those are kind of like sums of the larger part because we really look at everything that's provided as part of the student who's being admitted or considered.
Well, could it really hurt you or really help you?
Yeah, I think it could in either way. Um, I think providing like context, the essay is the most important part of that because so much of the rest of the application feels a little like impersonal sometimes. So the essay is really the chance to like talk about something that's important to them. You get a little glimpse into like them as a person more from the essay than any other component, I would say.
Perfect. Very good. And what's one way a student can really make themselves stand out to whoever is reading their application at Drexel?
So we look at students in the context of the program that they're applying for.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's a little bit different if you're applying undeclared, but even if you're applying undeclared to like a school or a college, we do look in the context of what they're applying for. So there's no like one perfect Drexel candidate, and there's no like one thing in particular I would say we look out for, but seeing interest in whatever they're applying for or seeing that they've tried out different things even can be interesting to see. But everyone's looking for well-rounded students, right? So we don't want someone who has worked too hard to get all A's and has neglected themselves in the process. So like looking for balance in that too.
Perfect. Very good. That's awesome. And if you could offer one piece of advice to a student who's, in the college search process or is in the midst of applying right now, what would that piece of advice be?
I would say, I think this is on my bio on our website, but like be patient with everyone that you're speaking with. Like your admissions counselor, but also like your parents and your school counselors, because like everyone's doing the best that they can for you. And whether it's like the first child who's like applying or the last one, like it's different for every student. So I think being patient with yourself and others is really important. Checking your email is super, super important. And I would say just being like open to information and making sure that you are advocating for yourself in the process too.
I love that. That's so perfect. And I love that we can reiterate that students be patient with themselves because this is such an individualistic process. And I think students get stressed out when their friends are applying, but they haven't started. And this person's list has this many schools, and this person has a favorite school. Why don't I have that? It just becomes chaotic a little.
Yeah.
So to give yourself some grace through this process and give everybody around you some grace during this process is just absolute key. And the emails, I like scream at that we need to be checking emails, but who knows? Perfect. This was so helpful. And I really, really appreciate all of your time. And I know that our community will also appreciate you spending some time with me to learn more about Drexel and all the fabulous programs you have. So thank you so much for all of it. And take care. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.